motivation, the drive to get up and move forward, the ability to rise above hardships. But inspiration that once was around may now be hard to find. Businesses will never be the same again. We know that. And your customers do too. But what they don't know is, this isn't all there is. We hope to inspire you to look beyond the heartaches, challenges, failures, broken dreams, beyond the norm, beyond the expected, beyond where you've already been, beyond fiber. We want to inspire you to keep dreaming, to redefine what your new normal looks like, to go beyond limits with abilities that you could have. From managed equipment, business applications, brick-and-mortar solutions, online and e-commerce platforms, cybersecurity and IT support, and so much more. The best part? Inspiration begins at only 2,500 pesos a month. All bundled together with our fastest fiber optic network. There's so much more in store for you. You just need to find inspiration to look beyond. Beyond fiber.
and welcome to the 5th Asia CEO Online Forum, Asia Future of Work, co-presented by PLDT Enterprise, Regions and Spaces by IWJ, with major sponsors JLL, LBC Business Solutions, and Multisys Technologies. Before we begin, please bow down your heads and join us for the invocation. Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity to come together. We thank you for the people who are joining us today. Please bless our speakers, speak to our hearts through their words. Be with the men and women who are responsible for organizing this event. We thank you for their servants' hearts. Our prayer today is that your will be done through this event. Take what we have prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with your righteous will. Remind us of your faithful provision when our efforts fail us or fall apart. Blanket us with your peace today, Father. Keep us physically safe and guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light for all we set to accomplish and celebrate. In Jesus' name, amen. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Well, welcome to everyone today. We have another interesting event to me, for sure. I'm sure everyone else too. This is called Asia Future of Work Forum, and it's an interesting time. You know, I was reading that 28% of people in the UK no longer want to go back to the office. They want to continue working from home. And so these are interesting times. In Philippines, where people spend on average, 2 to 4 hours per day in transit, it seems to me that number might even be higher. So, and the interesting thing is, we've all seen that it does actually work. We can actually do so much more than we expected working from home. So we're going to hear some really interesting stories, very diverse stories today about people's experiences and how it's been over the past few months and where it's going to be in the coming years. I know I was talking with some of the people before earlier, and it seems we've moved ahead 10 years in this future of work concept, work from anywhere concept. So let's see what all we can do to help everybody online today improve your businesses, hire back people, and so forth. I was looking at the list of the people who registered and are online. We have a lot of CEOs, CFOs from across the nation, right across the nation. So we're really pleased to have everyone, and we're really pleased to have a very good event with what I would say, I'm not exaggerating, but amazing speakers. So let me go through them right now in a bit of a roll call. First, we'll have Mitch Loxton of PLDT Enterprise. Glad to have you, Mitch. Looking good as usual. Next is Ruth Owen of Connected Women. She's very big in the renewable energy business in the nation. Carlo Matta of the, next is Carlo Matta of the fantastic White and Case Global Services Operation. Hello, Carlo. Then we have Carrie Lagdameo, who has done absolutely fantastic work at moving the Davao Mindanao area into the new world of future of work. So glad to have Carrie. Then we have Gemma Garland. I'm going too fast here. Gemma, here's Gemma. She looks nice as usual. She's locked in her office with the Ernst & Young Global Services operation that she runs highly successfully. Next, we have the well-known and many people know him, Lars Wittig, who runs the what I call the ASEAN region, most of it anyway, for the Regis Spaces organization, certainly the world's leader in providing shared office space. So glad to have Lars. Next is Brad Sinantambi, who runs global operations. Hello, Brad. He's with us from Australia today, from Melbourne he is, but runs the Orica Global Services operation, of which Philippines is a key for him, of course. And last is Heidi Enriquez, what I would say might be the nation's most famous and successful HR senior person. I don't know, I may be pushing it, but I think I'm pretty close. So really glad to have Heidi of Sitel with us today as well. So we'll get going, and our first speaker today is Mitch Loxton. Mitch has had quite a career. He was the founding executive director of BPAP, the very high-quality organization that represents the BPO shared services industry to the world, and has done just a fantastic job over the years, both in that industry and others. So we're pleased to have Mitch Loxton, him and his people have been frantically keeping our networks operational for over the past few months, and doing a lot of back office things that you would never imagine what they have to do to keep these things going. So please welcome Mitch Loxton, the first vice president and sales head of PLDT Enterprise. Glad to have you, Mitch.
Thank you, Richard. It's good to be here again. So good morning, everyone. On behalf of PLDT Enterprise, I am pleased to join all of you this morning in this forum to discuss the future of work in the new normal that we are all treading in. The global pandemic has shown us just how agile we can be. The businesses finding their ways to reinvent themselves, such as adapting to the new business models or shifting their platforms to online and digital. Technology has especially come to the fore and has proven to be essential for us to remain afloat during and after the pandemic. This is why we at PLDT Enterprise, with our vision to make a positive impact on every single business, have been laying out the essential groundwork to help our customers reinvent themselves and become more resilient for any future crisis that might happen. During the imposed lockdown, for example, the small and micro businesses, which accounts for 99.52%, I believe, of the total Philippine businesses, were heavily affected, with most of them forced to temporarily close down. But with the easing of the community quarantine lately, businesses are now slowly reopening to help the economy get back on its feet. Yet many consumers are still taking Many consumers are still taking their spending digitally, leveraging on online shopping and delivery platforms during this time. In our data from last year, about 67% of internet users, or 49 million or more or less, are now making purchases online. And with this, electronic payments are just crucial to aid this, with 74% of the Filipino consumers preferring e-payment methods currently for groceries and paying bills, for example. This is the reason why we need to rethink and reevaluate ourselves in terms of how we will do our business in the coming months. With PLDT Enterprise, we're working together with our customers from different industries to understand their pain points during this critical time. This enables us to come up with relevant solutions curated to help businesses and our customers thread to this new mode of work more effectively and efficiently. Recently, we launched our Beyond Fiber, an especially curated solution to help businesses today transform and evolve towards digital. This features a set of curated digital tools ranging from productivity, collaboration tools, to e-payments and e-commerce solutions. These services are combined with a enterprise-grade Wi-Fi running on premium fiber service, enabling the micro, small, and mid-sized enterprises of the country to fearlessly make the digital shift towards long-term growth. And in the spirit of Bayanihan, we are giving out our first 5,000 orders free for the first 3 months as a stimulus package. In a survey conducted among our IT BPM customers, or the BPO customers, for example, we found out that 50% or more have already adopted working from home as the new norm. With work from home arrangement more prevalent today, Beyond Fiber can also be the perfect solution for employee to work from home arrangements as it allows enforcement of corporate policies even for remote work to ensure employee productivity and security. We are also working closely with our customers from various sectors to be able to come up with an array of solutions that will ensure they be provided with the means to continue on. With their operations during this period, it's high time that businesses make a digital pivot. This will be the gateway of the new normal, or the future of work. That all begins with implementing a solid connectivity backbone, of course, and the necessary technology solutions for your employees and your business. Remote work would, of course, not be complete without the right conferencing solutions and collaboration tools, just like what we're doing right now, to allow enterprises and businesses to conduct webinars and video conferencing calls from anywhere. Primary modes of collaborations are, of course, the free chat apps such as Viber, Telegram, WhatsApp, but there are also collaboration tools designed specifically for businesses. For example, at PLDT Enterprise, we offer the Microsoft Teams, the Google Hangouts, the Cisco WebEx, and more, all of which are encrypted and come up with guaranteed security protocols. Related to this, another thing I would like to highlight is the importance of cybersecurity during this pandemic. You won't believe this, but even during ECQ time, majority of the hospitals, at least the large ones, were even being hacked. As businesses provide more employees with remote work computers and accesses to email on personal mobile devices, there is an increased need to heighten cybersecurity. Many cyber criminals are exploiting the crisis to create digital havoc, from fake COVID information websites and maps that are conduits of malware, to tailored phishing attacks masked as COVID warnings even. We recognize the need for stronger protection in this new era working from home, which is why we also strengthening our cybersecurity capabilities to help businesses and their crucial data become more protected today. On top of providing various solutions, our offers are also compliant with the different security requirements of businesses. Security breaches should be among the least of your worries during this time. We have everything from CCTV cameras with thermal scanners to monitor your stores, your remote IT, and even your data center needs. Again, during this period, future of work is up to us to shape. It's high time that we all make a digital pivot, and we at PLDT Enterprise, with our vision to make a positive impact on every single business, are committed to helping you get back on your feet and implementing your transformational strategy. We enjoin you to step into this new day, the future of work. Every day is a new day, a new opportunity to reinvent and rebuild to enable you to surpass your capabilities to successfully tread to the new future of work. So thank you once again to Richard and my colleague speakers here, and to the rest of the people viewing this morning session.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mitch. Very good. Yes, and if anybody, a lot of people ask me to get in touch with Mitch. If you do, just send me a message, and I'll be pleased to do that. Certainly, he's a guy who can get things done for you and all that. So glad to have you, Mitch. Very good. Okay. Very good. Next, we'll have Ruth Owen. Ruth is, among other things, one of the nation's most experienced renewable energy leaders. She's president of a company called Upgrade Energy Philippines. It's a joint venture with a large European group developing power projects across the nation. But she's particularly passionate about empowering women in the workforce. And this future of work thing is a big opportunity, in my view, especially for women with children. But I'm sure she would tell you not just women with children, but all of them. But yeah, so with an interesting story, please welcome Ruth Owen, looking elegant in her attire, I must say, for us today. And yes, please welcome Ruth Owen, the co-founder of Connected Women. Hi, Ruth.
Hey, Richard. Thanks very much. I'm here today to give you an opportunity to help. And in the Filipino spirit of bayanihan is always, inherent in Filipinos. And now I'm asking you to come and help Filipino women to work from home. So why is this? 5 million Filipino women are out of the workforce because of household responsibilities, and 1.23 million are overseas Filipino workers. We're shipping our mothers out. They're looking after other people's children, but who's looking after their children here? So Connected Women is founded by Gina Romero, who's passionate about it. And I was the first believer in what she's trying to do. And so we have been remote since 2013. So we have different women in different areas of the Philippines. We have Davao, Singapore, Davao, Pampanga, Metro Manila, Iloilo, Cebu, and Bulgaria. Strange enough. But it's really interesting because we are working perfectly even before the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, we just carried on. And there's tremendous opportunity out there, as everyone knows, that the future of work is here, and we can't ignore it. So in Connected Women, what keeps us awake at night are also the women on the grassroots. These are women that have married early, didn't finish their education, and so we're thinking, Gina and I, we're thinking, how can we help these women, right? On top of the other professionals that we match with jobs. And then we thought about simplifying, tapping artificial intelligence, right? Like data labeling. So data labeling is actually, example, you're surfing, and then it says, we want to make sure you're not a robot, and so click the traffic lights. And so that's labeling in the simplest form. And where does that data go? It goes to a machine to learn. So I don't think we should be intimidated with with technology, artificial intelligence, robots, and all that, because there will always be human in the loop, right? In fact, we are, as we speak, we are partnered with UN Women to train about 70 women in data labeling. It's an online training program, and we have different profiles for this. There will be like household help, overseas Filipino workers returning, senior citizen, differently abled people, women of different background that comes together and want to do something so that they can stay home and be with their family and still contribute, to the husband's income. So we have partnered with Facebook to train about 2,000 women to use Facebook and Instagram to grow their businesses all over the Philippines in the last 3 years. And together with the Department of ICT, we are also training about 10,000 women in 5 years. So we train and then we match them with jobs. So, traditional jobs is changing, as we all know. We would like to invite corporate, anyone that wants to help women in whether in technology, partner with us. We can do this together because, I think it's really, really important, especially now. So to whoever's watching out there, please contact us in Connected Women. And we have a community of about 70,000 women and growing. But these are women connecting, working, sharing, and learning as well. So please contact us to ensure that no woman is left behind. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ruth. Yes, it is a big issue because we're losing far too many women, with children who would like to continue in the workforce. And it's a big loss to the economy and to our businesses, and especially to the women, of course. So, okay, thank you very much, Ruth. We'll have more from her in the question period when I'm going to nail her with a really good question. But next we have Carlo Mata. This is the managing director of White & Case Global Operations Center. This is one of the world's largest and premier law firms based in New York for the past, I think, 100 years or more. Offices in 30 countries. And you'll be pleased to know they do absolutely leading edge work here in Philippines with Filipinos like Carlo and his group. And it's an example of one of the high quality employers that we're getting in Philippines nowadays. So it's really nice to have Carlo. The only thing that's interesting, or another thing that's interesting, is that there are a bunch of lawyers, and I don't know how, lawyers are always paranoid about getting sued and things. So I'm anxious to see how Carlo is managing all of his expectations during this crisis and beyond. So please welcome Carlo Mata, Managing Director of White & Case Global. Glad to have you, Carlo.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. As Richard mentioned, White & Case is a global law firm that's been around for 120 years, present in Asia, EMEA, and the Americas with 46 offices in 30 countries. I head the Manila office, which is the firm's third largest office, Richard, in terms of headcount. It is a pleasure to be with all of you this morning and share some insights we learned during these unprecedented times. Like most, our plans did not cover pandemics in the possible scenarios we had to prepare for. The crisis being global, we immediately felt its impact across all our offices, across the firm, starting with the 3 offices in the major cities in China, and then our Hong Kong office, which was also partly due to the riots. We began to implement work from home. Our South Korea office, our Seoul office, quickly followed. Then soon our offices in Milan and other parts of Europe. We quickly adopted a firm-wide approach and had the Manila office work from home as well. So mobility through laptops ended up being a key component of our resiliency. We knew we could not possibly plan for every scenario. Instead of a BCP site, which most organizations do, we opted for a simpler solution, which we called slam and go approach, referring to having laptops and in case of emergency, you slam it and you go. And we anticipated slam and go would somehow be a solution to many scenarios. Thankfully, it worked. And of course, we worked with PEZA in allowing us to do our work from home. At the first day of lockdown, the Manila office achieved an 85% attendance, would you believe, with a few hiccups on connectivity. So working through and addressing people's connectivity issues became our priority at the first week. By Friday of that same week, we were already at 97% attendance and continue to average the same, which was quite a feat. That was a pleasant surprise to us as well. So undoubtedly, in this time of crisis, we've successfully leveraged technology to continue our operations unhampered. But once work from home was smooth and established and became the norm, a new concern started to arise. It was people's emotional and mental well-being. In our daily senior management team meetings, this came up more frequently, and we realized this was starting to become the new issue for us. It was no longer connectivity. We knew we needed to address this quickly and effectively. We started to think about technology beyond an operational enabler in remote working, but as a bridge to underline the value of community and connectedness. For us, alongside technology, one of the fundamental ways we effectively address the rising concern around emotional and mental well-being of our people was our ability to effectively communicate. And we benefited from doing three things well when it came to communication. The first, we communicated with empathy. People need to feel and understand that we genuinely care for them. In our communication, we made sure that we acknowledge their feelings and priorities, which is health, safety, and well-being. And we weren't afraid to say what people were thinking or even answer questions that they were too afraid to ask. People won't follow us, we felt, if they felt we didn't understand them or their circumstances. So we communicated with empathy. The second thing we did was we communicated truthfully. And it's so important to tell the truth, even if the truth was somewhat bleak or even unknown. It is also tempting to counter the fear and the growing anxiety by being overly positive, but we needed to be realistic. It wasn't a time for pure motivation. It was a time for leadership. And during times of crisis, as leaders, we don't ignore or mask problems. We lead through them. And our people can handle bad news better than no news at all. So we communicated with empathy, we communicated truthfully, and lastly, we communicated frequently. In times of crisis, we felt we could over-communicate. We could not over-communicate, and every day things were changing, information and regulations were changing. So we used every means possible to communicate with our team. Major crises do two things. They present problems, but they also present opportunities. And if we are wise, we could use this time to demonstrate empathy and kindness and discover new and non-traditional ways to engage and support one another. As we do so, our communities are strengthened with a sense of connectedness, and connectedness during this time of physical and social distancing will become more premium than ever. Thank you. Back to you, Richard.
Very good. Thank you very much, Carlo. That is interesting, yes, because that is a big issue. And that's one challenge I think we're all going to have. So that's okay. We'll get more on that maybe later during the question session. But thank you very much, Carlo, and keep up the great work you and your people are doing. Okay, our next speaker is he's normally based in Davao, Mindanao, but today he's up in I think the Metro Manila area. But Kerry Lagdameo, he's head and first vice president of Damosa Land. And if you ever go down to Davao and go through the business parks and so forth, you will almost certainly have seen his buildings and his, I think one of the the main or the most important business park was developed by his organization. And also, it's interesting. I find Kerry interesting because he has, what I understand, is the largest co-working operation in Philippines. And a lot of people think that, oh, well, Manila is so advanced and we're, more advanced than Davao, but they really jumped in to the co-working future of work scenario, and their center almost was full almost from the day they opened it. So a very successful promotion work that they did down there. I think their partner was the Regis Spaces organization, who you'll hear about later on. So with an interesting story about the future of work, please welcome a key real estate guy and other perspectives that are nice about him, Kerry Lagdameo, the head of Damosa Land. Welcome, Kerry.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you for that wonderful introduction and always propping me up there. Good morning to all your viewers this morning. And yes, as Richard mentioned, I represent a real estate company based out of Mindanao, more in particular in Davao City. And we consider ourselves a full-service real estate firm. We have businesses in residential development, commercial leasing. We even have industrial parks, IT parks, flexible workspaces, and hotels as well. So being from a very traditional brick and mortar industry, you can imagine how disrupted our business was, and it still somewhat is. For instance, construction had to stop. Site trips and visits had to be put on hold, which is a very important part of us doing business. So you can imagine how we had to shift our business model. And so, throughout this pandemic, we've been trying to look at what the silver lining is and look at what the opportunities are. And one of the things that we did, I would say quite effectively, was to migrate a lot of our sales and marketing efforts online. And once we were able to do that, we were quite surprised, and then we saw that there was an uptick in sales. Still below our target, but we were happy to see that there were actually sales. We also did receive a lot of inquiries from potential locators for our industrial parks, for our office buildings as well. And again, it was quite encouraging to see and to hear that people are still looking for opportunities. In our case, I think work from home was somewhat effective because we were able to transfer or migrate a lot of our operations online. But one thing that we were also able to do, and what we call work from field, was when we were able to, or when we were allowed to go back to work under GCQ and under strict circumstances, we encouraged and we rotated our employees to go to office in some of our field projects. So in a lot of cases, wherever we have major projects going on, so we have a field office there, complete with a working office, Wi-Fi, and everything like that. So the positive aspect there was that our employees that normally would be in our head office, they were able to get exposed to a lot of our projects. So they were able to become more intimate with all the projects that are going on. So moving forward, I don't think personally that working from home will be the new norm for us, at least. I think it'll have to be a combination of working from home, working from field, and also working from our main office. And personally, I do still enjoy being able to plan in person with my team, being able to brainstorm in person. And I mean, I guess after all, we are social creatures. But having said that, since we will be still working from our own office, and I would say maybe at least 50% of the time, we will be putting in a lot of sanitary measures in order to make our employees more comfortable. Overall, as we look at what the future holds for the Davao office industry, we remain to be quite optimistic, especially for us. Our IT parks, we've been catering to BPOs for quite a number of years now. And what we're hearing from all the real estate experts is that the BPO sector will be one of the more resilient ones. So we're really hoping that we'll see more BPO investment coming in to Davao, especially as companies will look to be more cost efficient and more cost effective in the coming years. We also like the industrial space. As I mentioned, we did receive a number of inquiries for our industrial park, and we hope that in the coming months we'll be continuing to cater to some of those. And finally, as Richard mentioned, also we are in the flexible workspace. We've partnered with Regis or IWG, and we are their Mindanao franchise partner. So we think that flexible workspace is going to be or continue to be very important. We feel that companies will look to see how they can scale up or scale down quickly using flexible workspaces. So in general, we think that real estate will be resilient. I think though that those companies that are well diversified or have a good diversified portfolio will be able to weather this storm a bit better. So we're hoping for the best. Again, Richard, thank you for having me this morning, and I look forward to entertaining your questions later. Thank you.
Very good. Yes. So if you ever go down to Davao, I'm going to get you in trouble, Carrie, but I'm going to invite anybody who goes down to Davao to take a look at your operations. I've been down. I've seen them. Beautiful work that they're doing, and a good option for people who are setting up other offices. I mean, I'm not here to sell, but it is something you got to see when you're in Davao. So send me a message, and we can set up something. But
absolutely.
Okay, really glad to have Carrie.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, our next speaker, Gemma Garland. Now, this is another, I mentioned high quality employers that we have in Philippines these days. This is another one. She's head of the Ernst & Young Global Services operation. They have grown from almost nothing to, I think they're close to 3,000 people now. And Gemma, dear Gemma, she has been locked in her offices for some time now, literally working and sleeping in her offices. I'm sure there's someone to give her a hug once in a while, but she's working very hard and keeping everybody employed from their home and so forth. So this will be another interesting story because, accountants, they're another group that seem paranoid about security and getting sued and so forth. So please welcome another fascinating story, Gemma Garland, Chief Operations Officer, Ernst & Young Global Services. Welcome, Gemma. Oh, Gemma, I think your mute button might be on. There she is, a lovely red bit of color.
Thank you, Richard.
Very good.
And good morning to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. The COVID-19 pandemic is greatly unprecedented and will have a lasting impact in the future of work. We all know that things will never be the same again, and there's a lot of uncertainties in the future, and most companies should understand that they need to transform themselves, because if they don't transform, they will not be around for the long term. Today, I would like to share with all of you 5 key points that, in my opinion, have changed and will continue to change and shape our future as we navigate through the pandemic and through other forms of disruptions. The first one is the need to invest in technology. Investing in technology is like investing in the overall health and survival of your organization. In EY, our new strategy is investing technology in everything that we do, whether that is working from home using technology, whether that is interfacing with clients using more and more technology, collaborating with internal working teams using technology, or using different technologies around artificial intelligence to do a lot of analytical work to understand data better. Understanding how this data moves and what this data are telling us. The more you use and the more you learn about technology, the better off you will be. It will make your work much more interesting as it takes away a lot of the manual tasks so you can focus your time and skills to so much more value-adding results. The right technology guarantees quality, reliability, consistency, and obviously speed, security, and integrity. During the pandemic, we have seen and we have reaped the benefits of our firm's investment in our technology infrastructure. We wouldn't have survived without good technology. That is why our response to COVID-19 was very quick. It was rapid and seamless, and we have fully enabled 100% of our employees to work from home several weeks before our government announced the lockdown. Takes a lot of planning and preparations to do that, but having the really great technology that comes with it will make it really successful. So more than 3 months now into the lockdown, we continue to do business as usual while our employees continue to work from home. And it's primarily because our technology has enabled us to do so. Second is we continue to consider data as gold. We all know that numbers do not lie. Business owners, entrepreneurs, and consumers depend heavily on numbers to make decisions and to establish that what we are doing is right. So with the remote work as a business setup and with the rise of new methods and technologies to help us perform our work, data is necessary to ensure that we are really getting things done and we are doing them correctly. So I believe everybody has been using data even before the pandemic, but the need to make use of data to better understand business trends, employee engagement, and productivity will continue to accelerate given the new way of working now. People and mostly a lot of us are now working away from the office side. The third thing that I want to share with you is that we should consider resiliency as important as productivity and efficiency. You see, the Philippines is heavily affected by natural calamities. And this year alone, we were hit by calamities like the Taal volcano incident, the recent typhoons, and now the COVID-19 crisis. So I believe our BCP team has been one of the busiest teams in our organization, ensuring business is not interrupted during calamities so that our clients will continue to rely on exceptional delivery of services from our firms. The pandemic has probably caught us all by surprise, challenging our BCP protocols and plans that we have put in place, but this is also an opportunity for us to test the reliability of our plans, isn't it? So while productivity and efficiency are essential components of our response to disruptions, keeping ourselves resilient, agile, and nimble are equally imperative. We need to have the right mindset, the discipline, and the emotional preparedness to combat unforeseen and difficult situations. And these are all necessary attributes of good business leaders. So we as Filipinos are known to be highly resilient, and that is one thing that we should all be proud of. And also the Bayanihan spirit is also something that we should be proud of. So next is, we know that working remotely is here to stay. So according to a Gartner survey, Gartner is one of the world's leading research and advisory companies. About 48% of employees around the world will likely continue to work remotely even after the COVID-19 pandemic. So working from home could be relatively new in the Philippine setting, but it has become, I think, the most sensible and most realistic solution as the new way of working. As organizations then shift their operations to working remotely, the need to use technology to stay connected and the need to collaborate digitally are very, very important. With service delivery and business transactions moving to a digital space, we need to prepare to adjust the overall employee experience while keeping our company culture thriving. I would say that working from home is a great privilege, and it can be, you can still be very, very productive, even more productive than when you're working from your offices. But obviously, this can be problematic if it's not well managed. So but encourage the managers and the business leaders to make sure that they provide enough supervision so that work from home privileges is neither abused nor not taken advantage of. The next one is our companies would be defined on how we have reacted during the pandemic. So Prior to COVID-19, I think organizations would implement programs and campaigns or advertisements to actually enhance or advertise their brand and to create, pleasing perception about their organizations with the goals of increasing sales or winning more clients or attracting potential candidates for employment. Now with COVID-19, our clients, our stakeholders, and most especially our employees and prospective employees may start defining our organizations based on how we have responded to the crisis. So things like, how did we protect our people and our people's jobs? How did we protect our clients? And what have we done to help the society and the government in the national battle for this crisis? So COVID-19 obviously has caused a lot of devastation to businesses and families in many countries all over the world. But this has also forced us to fast track our way to innovation and integration of technologies in our way of life. Regardless of the kind of disruption that may come our way, business leaders should put these three important P's at the core of their role. And this is just my point of view. The first one is to protect your people and to protect your people's jobs. The second is to protect your business and protect your clients. And the last one is to play an active role in nation building. Thank you very much, Richard. It has been a great honor to be here. Good morning again, and have a pleasant day, everybody.
Very good. Thank you very much, Gemma. Yeah, there'd be so much more you could share, I'm sure, because it's fascinating, all the things that you have been doing, you and your people. So, and by the way, for someone who sleeps in the office, you look pretty good with your outfit and full makeup. Well done to you. So a very talented person, and keep up the great work you guys are doing. I know there's a lot of growth ahead. So thank you very much, Gemma. Okay, our next speaker is Lars Wittig, and Lars has had a stellar career over the past number of years here. Started in Philippines. Some people would say that, oh, well, Philippines is a place you leave to grow your career. Well, Lars has shown that, among many who've shown that Philippines is a place to really grow your career. So he did so well here that he's now country head of Philippines, South Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and active in a number of other countries as well. So really glad to have Lars, and he's with the Regis Spaces organization. This is the world's largest provider of shared office space and co-working space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing Lars' story about the trends and what's going on in his business. So please welcome Lars Wittig of Regis Spaces. Glad to have you, Lars.
Welcome to your new way of working right on your doorstep. We've created a safe environment for you and your team by taking the principles of physical distancing and adapting them for the workplace. This includes how people move around our locations, with clear information and protocols in place to ensure everyone's safety. We have also reconfigured our meeting rooms to enable social interactions at a safe distance. And we're working to the highest standards of hygiene, with frequent touchpoint and workspace cleaning to meet global health and safety regulations. Our support teams are on hand 24/7 to help with any questions and concerns. And our in-centre teams are working harder than ever to keep people safe and working productively. We can help you find short-term space whilst the future is still uncertain, or enable long-term remote working setups on a global scale. Speak to us today and find a new way of working in our new world.
Thank you very much, Richard. And I could just tell there was a little commercial break here. But good to be back and welcome home, as we like to say here at Spaces. But on that note, home and working from home, I believe that we already have had some extremely valuable insights from the previous speakers. Gemma, it was fantastic, relevant the way that you described, yes, it's viable to work from home, but it can also be less viable in certain aspects if it is not managed well, and it can even be abused by employers. On the other hand, Ruth was absolutely nailed it in how working from home is inclusive for women. It enables women to remain part of the workforce. I would like to add it also enables women to re-enter the workforce, at least gradually, the ability to work from home. But working from home there are pros and cons, as it is already apparent. If I say loud roosters and barking dogs and the Tahoe man passing by outside on the street, that's a typical backdrop when you speak to somebody in a business meeting. At the same time, that poor somebody might have very limited air conditioning, and most likely can say the same for the internet connection, very, very limited. But it has also been tested very well during these times, and many aspects of working from home has proven extremely valuable. In many ways, you can say that we have been more separated than ever before, but I think we also have felt more together because we have been in this predicament together, and we have truly been on a shared mission. In our company, sales vice presidents, we are about 20 globally. I would normally interact with my colleagues globally once or twice a year. During the last 100 days, we have been interacting twice a week. Never have we been closer, and never have we been able to be so agile, so adaptable, come up with entirely new solutions for our customers and our employees so rapidly. It's a good example, and it has been very inspiring. The entire learning process here, I would say that even the largest enterprises, it has been like a time machine. Working flexibly, working whenever, wherever, also from home. There was already a trend happening before COVID-19, but the learning curve now has brought even the biggest enterprises 5-10 years into the future. The head offices, they are now going to become more like group. To have a head office in a CBD area, that is going to become so much history. And as we are returning to work, there's not one single enterprise that has the right amount of workspace or the same requirements for workspace as they did more than 100 days ago. So who are the real winners here? I would say the winners, it is the suburbs. Luckily, we have the largest network, not only in the world, but also locally. We heard Carrie earlier. He has the franchise for our business in all of Mindanao. We are literally everywhere, and very much so in the suburbs. What I think has been big lessons here for the CEOs, and I know there are many CEOs on this listening in right now. For the CEOs, they've definitely learned that they have probably experienced, they've become much closer to their teams than they were before the COVID-19 hit us. And thanks to Teams and Zoom, we have excelled our abilities to really maximize IT. IT is what has enabled remote working whenever, wherever in the first place, but now we have really learned how to exploit it. For the CFOs, and again, I know also there are many CFOs listening in right now, returning to work and finding out that you have a big capital investment and a big long-term liability in an amount of workspace that you don't need any longer. You need to distribute your employees, and yet times are uncertain, so they're not going to sign up for 5 new smaller leases and make capital investments there either. So there will be a big move towards short-term flexible solutions to distribute your workspace. Working from home, yes, is great, but either you get lonely at home or you get disturbed. The demarcation line between work and life certainly has been overstepped. As Gemma was saying, it can be abused. It's very difficult for not only your children, but even your spouses to relate to the fact that yes, you are there and physically, and it is perhaps past 8, maybe even past 9 or 10 p.m., and you are still on a call, because when does work stop? When you literally have your office in your residence. And with that said, I'm looking forward to the questions, because then we can elaborate further. Thank you very much, Richard.
Very good. Thank you too, Lars. Yeah, there's a lot more that you can share. It's too bad we have to, shorten the usual time people have for presentations. I know I wanted to hear more from Gemma too, and so on. But anyway, we'll have some questions later on. But thank you very much, Lars, and keep up the great work. And yes, that is interesting. We have, people from working from home doesn't always work perfectly. There's no question about it. Okay, our next speaker, we have Brad Sinnathamby. He's head of global business services for Orica. And Brad is, another one. This is his second stint in Philippines. He liked it so much the first time he came back. He previously set up the QBE Insurance Global Shared Services operation here, which is, Brad, you'll be pleased to know, has become certainly one of the nation's premier employers, a very successful operation. And so now he's back again, setting up Orica, a large global chemicals company. And today he's in Melbourne, but back and forth, I guess. So please welcome Brad with an interesting story. Glad to have you, Brad of Orica.
Thanks, Richard, for the introduction and the opportunity to present my thoughts on the future of work. As you said, Richard, I'm currently the head of Global Shared Services for Orica. And prior to that, I was a pioneer employee and the chief operating officer in Manila for QBE Insurance's Global Shared Service Centre between 2012 to 2016. By way of background, Orica is the #1 manufacturer and supplier of commercial explosives, supporting the mining, construction, quarrying and tunnelling businesses. Many people think we're a mining company, but I like to think of ourselves more as a mining logistics company. We support those sectors in their business operations. Orica's head office is in Melbourne, and we've been in business for over 140 years. We operate in 112 countries and have more than 11,500 employees globally. Orica GBS was established in 2015 to support finance processes for Orica. We currently employ around 200 staff, and we've recently expanded our service catalogue to include a number of IT processes. And we're set to add to this further and double our FTE count over the next 12 months. It's fair to say that Orica historically hasn't been that supportive of work from home arrangements. As a result, we had no policies or precedents to follow when COVID-19 hit. When the lockdown occurred on the 17th of March, this mindset was turned on its head in an instant as we were forced to mobilise our work from home arrangements. We quickly convened our emergency management team and dusted off the business continuity plan, only to realise that it didn't adequately contemplate a pandemic scenario. Luckily, over the last 12 months, we'd started to swap out our desktop computers for laptops, so around 2/3 of our team were highly mobile and immediately able to work from home. However, it wasn't an easy journey. Some of the challenges we faced were inadequate internet speeds from home, a lack of a proper workspace at home, of course, transporting desktop computers and other infrastructure to those that needed it whilst in lockdown was problematical. And the big one for us initially was that many of our apps required a VPN, and our network architecture just didn't contemplate having thousands working remotely globally at the same time. Notwithstanding this, we managed to mitigate all of those challenges, and we achieved 100% virtual operations on day 3 of the lockdown. The focus from then on was to develop policies to support work from home, such as overtime policy, leaves policy, how we handled the payment of internet allowances and the like. Of course, key for us, and I'm sure with the other organisations on the call now, is the continual communication with staff around what our strategy was, and of course the communication with our stakeholders in the various countries that we support. We had to enhance our productivity management tools to allow our leads to monitor service delivery, and we've really developed some great tools using Power BI and the like, which give our leads the confidence that they're able to support our SLA commitments. We've had to support and educate our teams to embrace Microsoft Teams, Yammer, and the other collaboration tools. And I think that's a big one. If we reflect back to where we were 5 years ago, I just don't think we could have been as successful in migrating to an online work from home environment. Ensuring that our team remains connected by way of virtual town halls, virtual huddles, a number of online fun challenges. Working remotely presents some challenges, but having these connection points really does help. Every week since the lockdown commenced, the SLT have met 3 times a week to check in with each other and to share the pulse of the organisation. It's very different from being able to walk the floor and talk to the teams, to be able to manage these kind of scenarios remotely, but we've managed to achieve that. Some of the team had difficulty with the isolation and the new way of working and missed the dynamic of the office environment, so we ensured everyone had a good peer network to support them. We strongly advocated our mental health programs as a number of our teams struggled with the unfolding pandemic within the local communities and the impact this was having on family and friends. Our observations so far are that productivity remained at the same levels and in some teams actually increased. The vast majority of the teams have embraced and adapted to work from home and actually prefer this way of working. And our SLAs continue to be met and our stakeholders are very supportive of the new way of working. As we prepare a staged return to work, we have been contemplating the future operating model for Orica, and I see a new norm. That norm will be where anywhere up to 1/3 of our workforce will be working from home at any one point in time. We will mandate certain periods whereby all staff will be in the office for trainings, town halls, socials and other collaboration activities. We'll also look to embrace a non-standard work arrangement. In the past, we've been bound to an 8-hour work day. You commute to work, you work a block of time, you have lunch, you work and then you go home. In the future, I see we'll have more flexibility to allow staff to work in blocks of effort during the course of a week. And I don't see any issue with this, so long as we match off the needs of the business. As for the benefits, it'll be a big tick for our EVP, employee value proposition, as we will offer more flexible work arrangements. Certainly, as Lars said, it will be a reduced real estate footprint and expanded talent surge. Geographically, we're no longer going to be isolated to Metro Manila. We can look further afield for talents. Persons with disabilities will be in our scope as well, as they will be a very attractive source of talent for us. And as Ruth said, mothers wanting to return to the workforce, we can offer a flexible work arrangement. We'll continue to mature our talent acquisition policies over the coming months as we start to resume usual operations. The pandemic has forced this necessity upon us, but has opened up our ways to an exciting future way of working, which we are certainly embracing as an organisation. Thanks, Richard. Back to you.
Very good. That's interesting, Brad. I didn't know you had come so far so fast, because I wondered how would you guys have to be on site to blow up your minds, and that's not the right way to put it, but you know what I mean. And so that's very impressive. Okay, so you've really come a long way. All right, that's an interesting story. Our next speaker, we're pleased to have Heidi Enriquez, and you'll please forgive me, I always make a big deal about Heidi. If you're in the HR world, you know Heidi. Everybody says, oh, someday I'm going to be just like Heidi in that sector. She is the Chief People Officer of Sitel. This is one of the country's largest employers, 25,000 people across the nation, and also past winner of the People Manager of the Year Award from the People Management Association of the Philippines, a highly regarded HR organization. So we're really glad to have Heidi to talk about the people aspects of what she sees about this future of work thing. So really glad to have Heidi, also looking very well, I must say. Glad to have you, Heidi.
Hey, thank you, Richard. Someone once said that necessity is the mother of invention, and the recent events once again proved the enduring truth in that proverb. I remember having repeated discussions in multiple fora about the viability of work-at-home model in the Philippine BPO space. And then the resounding belief during that time was that we just weren't ready, that remote work was not aligned to our very social and high-touch Filipino culture, that data privacy and protection was a huge concern, and that we didn't have the telecommunications infrastructure stability necessary to run a successful and sustainable work-at-home operations. Then the quarantine was announced. Lo and behold, in weeks, if not days, companies pivoted to work from home and other alternative work models. BPO companies report that they have shifted anywhere between 10% to 100% of their workforce to the remote work model. Majority of the same companies project that this model will continue and will become part of our normal way of doing business. In particular, in Sitel, we project a 50-50 mix between in-center and Sitel at home on a sustained basis. People management, obviously, is in my DNA, so I'd like to focus on the area of human capital. What pivotal role, then, does HR play in this critical juncture in history? First and foremost, now more than ever, retooling has taken a primary spotlight. Take the time to learn new skills. For even the most experienced of managers, this crisis is proving to be a steep learning curve as the virus ravages global economies and touches every corner of our personal and professional lives. The majority won't have encountered anything like it before in our lifetime. So we need to embody what we call in HR learning agility. The second one is that HR leaders must be at the forefront of innovation to reinvent the business. This is the time for collaboration, courage, and more importantly, action. Most of us are facing budget constraints already, so doing more with less is going to continue to be the norm. The third one is leveraging technology. Pre-COVID, there were still debates about digitization and automation being a job killer. Now we know for sure that it's mandatory and necessary to survive the crisis. The fourth one, we need to review and realign HR strategies, initiatives, and processes. So there has to be sharper focus on employee well-being. We need to strengthen career mapping and succession planning, redesign performance and productivity models, especially for remote work, and then balance short-term gain with longer-term impact. Last but not the least, HR leadership matters, more so in this new normal. We all have many difficult financial and people decisions to make. Not only are each one of us worried about our health and personal safety, we are also worried about revenue, executive and workplace safety, business continuity, and offering sound and ethical policies to employees. As the Economist article recently pointed out, in this particular global crisis, HR are the heroes of most companies. The overall theme is clear. There's no going back. The COVID-19 crisis is not only disruptive to every company, but it has created what we call the big reset. Rapid changes taking place in remote work and alternative work models, technology-based processes, and social and digital ways of connecting with people will be lasting and lasting for years to come. Back to you, Richard.
Okay, Heidi, good as always. She's got a beautiful, she even puts a nice background behind her and all this stuff. She always goes over the top. Thank you very much, Heidi. That's very interesting material. Okay, next, everyone, we will get to go to our questions and answer session. So please post your questions. We'll try to get as many as we can. So we'll be right back and watch this first and see you very, very soon.
Key in your questions, comments, and suggestions via the chat.
Okay, very good. Glad to have you back. Okay, we'll get to the questions and answers. One thing that's, I mean, I like online events. They're very exciting and all this kind of stuff, but you miss sometimes the personal interaction. You can't go up to the speaker after and say, Carrie, when can I come down to Davao to see you? And these kinds of things. So, and also they're a bit shorter because there's a lot more detail that I would really like to hear from all of our speakers, but we'll ask some questions and see what else we can get. First, I'll ask Mitch Loxon beside me in the top middle of the screen. Now, Mitch, I know this has been a heck of a big disruption for your group because so many people are working from home. I know you had to deliver tens of thousands of devices to allow people to do that, and you had to lock people in offices to make sure the systems would work and so forth. But what all are you doing for the not just the increased demand for connectivity, but also the changing demand? Because now it's more, the growth seems to be in the suburbs rather than in the downtown core. What can you tell us about all of that?
Well, because of the current protocols, right? So during ECQ, we were granted IATF passes so that we can continue to actually enable the work from home requirements, whether it was from the BPOs or traditional corporations, even to the SMEs. But lately we get some challenges, especially on certain barangays that are still currently on strict lockdown where we cannot enter. For example, Cebu City that went back on a stricter ECQ model a few days ago. So we are still getting a lot of challenges in that aspect, but it's like a push and pull. But we're learning to be resourceful to improve our SLA so we are not to be limited by the current setup. So it is challenging, but currently, besides being in a skeletal force, we're at 30% capability right now, moving to 50% by next week. So hoping that things go back a bit normal in terms of meeting the demand. I actually saw a comment earlier that there was a from the chat group that there was a order for a PLDT service and he hasn't gotten any response, or it hasn't been installed in the last 2 months. Well, I'd be glad to help. So, we just have to be patient a little bit because, again, on certain areas we cannot really enter. We're trying our best, but we are coping, and it will improve in a week's time.
Very good. Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, it's been quite a story. I know I hear a lot of you PLDT guys, the stuff you've been doing. So anyway, well done. We appreciate it. It's one of the few things that kept working through all this is our connectivity. Okay, next I'll ask Ruth Owen, who is on the middle left part of your screen. And now, Ruth, I've heard so many times senior leaders complain that they lose their best employees because they get pregnant. And I wonder, this future of work thing, you think this really is going to make a big opportunity for women with children, or you think it's overblown? What's your opinion?
I think it's a game changer, Richard. So, the CEO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, has this book called Lean In, because women naturally thinks, I'm going to get married, have children, and so therefore they just pass on all these opportunities for promotions because one day they have to quit because they want to be with their children. But work should not be a sacrifice. It should be an opportunity. And I think the future of work is going to see this more and more. And so, yeah, I think flexible work will work, and you can still keep your best employees, women, men, or whatever, as long as you keep that in mind and and be, attuned with the time.
Sure. Yes, I agree. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to stop Filipinas from getting pregnant. Certainly, there's fun involved along the way. But never mind. Okay. So next, if I could ask Carlo Mata. Carlo is on the right middle part of your screen with the handsome-looking facial hair. I must say it's very fashionable these days. And now, Carlo, lawyers, the stereotype is they're always paranoid about getting sued and so forth. But are there risks to employers when employees work from home or shared offices? And how do you minimize these? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think lawyers are for law firms, just like banks and other professional services such as EY, data privacy and data breach is certainly a security concern. But for us in Manila, for example, we are not considered a third party or a vendor, but we are just one of the different 46 offices, and half the firm is made up of business services, and every single office in the firm is working from home now, which means half the firm, which is business services like Manila, are working from home. And so, we do take measure, such as, the measures we take through the security engineers. But the other thing that we do, Richard, is we break up information so that not a single piece of information lies just in one office, but it's spread so that if ever there is a breach in one office, the damage is very limited. Thankfully, we've never experienced such a breach, and we're proud of that. But that's how we deal with it.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, there's a lot more there, I'm sure. Okay, well, thanks, Carlo. Yes. Okay, for Carrie Lagdameo. Now, it's so intriguing that, Carrie, you went big on this shared office space, co-working and so forth, and it was a huge success in Davao. Did you know why that was? Was it just a really good sales job you guys did? Or why is it so popular there? And also, do you see more expansion? And what are the advantages or disadvantages for developers who host shared offices like this, like rather than just leasing your space the old way?
Sure. We were very, I guess you can say we were pleasantly surprised when we opened the center. And well, first of all, Lars and his team have they do a tremendous job at selling. But in terms of the clients, I think a lot of the clients that we were getting, these were companies that were maybe at one point exploring Mindanao, but hadn't taken that first step yet. So when they saw that there was a flexible workspace wherein they could come in with low risk, low capital expense, and if, say, for example, they didn't do well, they could pull out easier. Or if they would become successful, it would be easier to scale up or maybe even take permanent space. So the flexibility helped them tremendously. And about 70%, I believe, of our clients in the first few years were from companies outside of Davao and outside of Mindanao. In terms of expansion, definitely. I mean, as Lars mentioned earlier, we are the franchisee for IWG in Mindanao. We are going to have our second center this year, and we will be building at least 8 more centers in the coming years. Now, obviously, those timelines have been pushed back a little bit, but the main point still remains, is that we like the business, and I think we will continue this in the coming years ahead.
Okay, very good, Carrie. So keep up the good work. We'll be glad to see how things look in a few months. Okay, Gemma Garland seems eager to speak on the bottom right corner there. Hi, Gemma. And now, Gemma, your operation has grown quickly with 2,500 employees or so forth. And as I said, accountants are another group who are big on security and so forth. Now, this is a big issue for companies like yours. Are there special precautions you take when people work from home? And are there certain types of people, maybe, or jobs who can't work from home, either because of the nature of their work or the nature of the person. I mean, some people are all people able to work from home, or does it take a special type? What's your opinion?
So, Richard, that's a very meaningful question. This lockdown has taught our customers and even us as well that we can actually work remotely and we can be just as productive, if not even more productive, than when we work from our offices. But understanding the nature of our business, we are focused on the integrity that we have committed to our clients, and this should never be compromised, even if our work arrangement change. For example, allowing people to work from home. Our information security guidelines and processes are well in place so that it is broad enough and clear to address different scenarios. And let me share with you some of the very concrete examples of how serious we are on data protection. So we do have a very robust implementation and full compliance to data privacy. We have global policies and mandatory annual training programs related to handling sensitive information, data privacy, risk management, independence, password policy, policy on prohibited and non-prohibited standard softwares, for example. Our laptops have two-factor authentication to ensure that only the assigned user can use it. In case of theft or loss, the laptop becomes useless. Firewalls are everywhere. We only use EY authorized tools and applications that are highly secured. And we have a clearly defined blacklisted sites that we restrict access to, like maybe social media, video streaming, porno sites, and the like. And if you are caught violating, you can potentially lose your job. So our global IT, for example, would randomly and deliberately send anti-phishing emails to our employees just to test how employees will respond. And we have a very well-established cross-border general data protection regulations on top of all of our floors and offices being ISO 27000 certified. This is the ISO certification for information security. And for one of the biggest work that we do, which is audit or assurance, we use a common audit tool globally. We call it EY Canvas. And in that tool, all of the audit work is documented and work on in that tool. We cannot save files in or documents even in hard drives. So obviously, before the pandemic and before we allowed our workforce to work from home, there are some engagements or accounts that can only be performed in our office and cannot be performed at home or remotely. And this would be what we call accounts that are confined in bubble spaces or enclosed workstations. And primarily, this would be for clients in the banking or financial sector that requires really high-level security protocols, things like, they have their own security. You need to have only one door for entrance and another door for exit. It's recorded, all activities recorded by a CCTV 24/7. But with the changes in the way we're working now, even our financial services and banking services customers now, who used to require our work to be done in a sealed captive center, right now they themselves are working from home, and so they also allowed our employees to work from home. So right now, Richard, I would say everything that we do in the center can now be performed at home, except of course for some of the very basic processes like facilities management, wherein they really have to be here to manage the facility.
I see. Okay, interesting. So a lot going on there. Okay. Well, glad to hear more in 6 months' time. Very good. Okay, and next maybe I'll ask Lars Wittig, who is in the bottom middle of the screen. And now, Lars, Regus is many Regus Spaces is considered the kind of the world leader, certainly the largest provider of shared office space. And you have a lot of experience across the region and the world in this. But what are some of the main trends you see that will be important here? What do you see that's going to really get us excited?
Well, the main trend is at the moment that the demand for conventional workspace is obviously going to drop dramatically. So the overall demand for professional workspace will be less. But a much bigger share of that demand will be for flexible workspace without the long-term liabilities and capital investments. So thereby allowing the much desired, required agility by the big enterprises, and no longer just being limited to the startup companies, etc. Another trend is very much like what Carrie, as our franchisee for all of Mindanao, was highlighting, how flexible workspace has worked so well for our most southern city, Davao. This is a fantastic trend to ensure inclusive growth, also geographically. I mean, think about it. This forum, we would normally be meeting at one of the big hotels in Metro Manila. Today, basically anybody, whether you are in Bacolod or Iloilo or Lawak or General Santos, you can participate in this event. And with our network globally and nationally, it is not just big investors that are now getting ways and means of getting into tier 2 cities. What we see is that the smallest entrepreneurs in the provinces, they're using, say, our center with Carrie, our Regis Center in Davao, as a launching platform for them to suddenly do national business and eventually international business.
I see. Okay, Lars. That's again a lot going on that we'd like to have a lot more discussions about. But okay, we'll keep going. Brad Sinantambi, he is in the middle of the screen. And now, Brad, we've talked a lot about the work from home thing being a big opportunity for employees, certainly who save a lot of time and money. But are there advantages for employers? I mean, do employees really work better? Are they more engaged? Do you save any money after all the hassles and incentives? And also, your policy about overtime and leaves when people work from home, that must change too, doesn't it? I know that a lot of information there.
Yeah, great questions bundled up there, Richard. Yeah. Certainly, from our perspective, it has been, to be blunt, likely to be a cost saver. I mean, in our facility, as an example, we are very, very close to capacity, and we were in the throes of looking at options in terms of getting additional space to see us through our expansion plans the next couple of years, because we've always been rooted in the context that one additional FTE means we must have a fixed seat for that person. And yes, we looked at hot desking and desk sharing and the likes, but it still never came up with the right numbers for us. Now that we've come to the realization that we can very adequately, and in fact, without skipping a beat, have a proportion of our workforce work from home, and in fact they prefer to work from home, it just gives us the ability to maximise our existing footprint and have staff utilise that to the best of the ability. So that's, of course, facilities is our second biggest OPEX cost behind staff costs. So that will be a big help to us financially. I think in terms of staff engagement, I'm looking very much to our next Pulse survey, our next engagement survey, just to see exactly where we are sitting. But I expect to see that we'll get a really positive outcome from that, because all the feedback I've had from our team leads and from those that I still interact with from the various teams, that they've adapted very well and they enjoy the flexibility of the work from home lifestyle. I think someone touched on it earlier, the commute can't be underestimated for the teams and the individuals to get to work each day. So with that being negated, it's a big uptick. Yes, certainly in terms of the policies that we've had, we've got our senior team now working very closely to make sure that they are fit for purpose for the new norm, for the new working environment. And a lot of what we do with the teams, I must say, it is again rooted in trust. We like to measure teams more on output rather than making sure that they're at their kitchen table physically in front of the laptop for the 8 hours per shift that they are meant to be there. So as long as we get the productivity numbers, and as long as people do their mandatory training, and as long as they attend the team meetings virtually and everything else, then we're in a really good place. So The policies will be needing to be updated and reflecting the new working norm, but I think it's going to be an exciting time for us ahead.
Yeah, I agree. It is so exciting. God, who would ever have expected things to come so far, so fast? Okay, our next question is for Heidi Enriquez, who's at the bottom right of your screen. And now, Heidi, government has given various exemptions to the BPO industry, which is a major employer in the nation, especially of knowledge workers. But there's still a lot of limitations set by both national and local government units on the operations of BPOs. How are you navigating all these limitations to lessen the impact on your operations?
Yeah, Richard, the reality is that these restrictions could not have come at a worse time for us in the BPO industry, because what typically happens, and this is true for many contact centers, is that at the second half of the year, that's when we experience our biggest ramps. Typically, our manpower, we increase by between 30% to 50% for the seasonal ramps. And of course, these restrictions on social distancing, as well as limitations on travel, really gave us a lot of headache. Okay, so one of the things, luckily for us in Sitel, we were able to pivot very quickly. One of the novel things really that we've done, that I kid you not, this was something that we never even considered pre-COVID situation, was to depart from our model of building mega sites. Sitel is known for our mega sites, meaning 3,000, 5,000 seater contact center. But of course, if you have a mega center, that means your labor force should be coming from a whole wide area. And with restrictions on travel, that becomes then a problem. So within 2 weeks after ECQ was announced, we piloted a model in our Puerto Princesa site called microsite, where we looked at, for example, old internet cafes that are not in use, and then made those into contact center operations. And then that model became very successful, that I tell you right now we have 9 microsites operating near the communities or within the communities where Sitel labor force actually comes from. So it provides our labor force the opportunity to really work within the community where they live. And one of the things that we're very proud of is that our 10th microsite will be opening in 2 weeks, and it will be in El Nido.
I see. That would be very. Can I come too? I hope, Heidi.
Absolutely, Richard. And for us, it is very meaningful in the sense that yes, we're able to provide business continuity to our clients. But I think even more important is the fact that in these communities that we have targeted, these are communities with industries that are heavily impacted by the COVID situation, like El Nido. No tourism, that's the biggest income generator, and El Nido. And now we have given free training to the ex-tourism professionals in El Nido, and they're now ready and geared up to join the IT BPM space. And we see more and more of these happening. So it's not just about, for us, impacting our clients and our associates, but also positively impacting and contributing in the communities where we operate.
Okay, Heidi. See, she's always got some exciting information to share. So very good. We have a lot of questions posted from people. Maybe if I'll ask a couple more questions, and maybe if we keep the answers to about 1 minute, even though I know we'd like to go longer. But so for our women speakers, this has been a hot topic, but how do working women, the stereotype is women have more responsibilities than just their work. They come home, they do cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids, and so forth. But how do you manage the mindset change to multitask all of these things when you're working from home? Is it different from working at work, or how does that mesh? Who'd like to go first? Please start.
I can go first, Richard.
Yes.
I think I'm one of those people who would not have thought that working at home would sit well with me. But as of today, this is I'm thriving in the work at home model, and I cannot imagine myself going back in center. I think one of the things that's working for me is I don't have a husband, so that means my I'm a liberated woman professional. So my time is my own, and within the home space I have a son, and it just took a lot of disciplining myself to make sure that I follow a certain schedule, and making sure also that I balance that work schedule and that work time with the time that should be allotted to my son. Of course, the support of my family is also very important, because, like, for example, this is typically a time when I'm supposed to be with my son, but I now have a niece who's taking care of him, making sure that he's occupied and not making noises in the background. So at the end of the day, Richard, I think it's just making sure that you know what your priorities are, and understanding that those priorities can change, right, within a day or within a week, and being able to flex on the basis of the requirements of the situation.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Hi, Ruth or Gemma?
Yeah, can I go first?
Sure.
So when I started my talk today, my dog, who just went for a walk, came in and panting. I was having a BBC moment with my dog, right? But then I was collected myself, and so yeah, it is what it is. But you just need to be how do you say, you adjust. And I can never see going back to an office and sitting in an office and be there and all that, because I'm more productive, I have more time. But like what Heidi said, you need to have a certain schedule. Like, you wake up, you don't binge on Netflix and go to sleep at 4. You basically do what you do when you are going to the office. So you get up, you exercise. Like for me, I meditate, I exercise, and then I shower and I come and sit in a place where work is. And I know that I need to stop working by creating a video call with my family who's all over the world, and we work out and we do this. So that's a signal for me to stop working. So start and stop, and in between it could be anything. It could be Zoom or whatever. But yes, you adjust. Human beings adjust very, very quickly, just the same way as the BPOs are, adjusting to work from home. So yes, it's possible.
Okay. Gemma, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Richard, thank you very much. In the past, I think everybody has been looking for work-life balance, which I believe, my opinion about work-life balance, it doesn't really exist. You can never balance work and life. But with the way things are changing right now, I do not call it work-life balance, but I now call it work-life integration. So you have to integrate both your life and your work to make it work. And the thing that I have to put in place is I have to be very mindful where I am and what I'm doing at specific time of the day. Like if I am in the office, I have to make sure that I prioritize what needs to be done in the office, and I am mindful about the people that are around me. And if I am at home, same thing happens. I have to prioritize the needs of the family, and without, of course, totally disregarding the fact that somebody can call me while I'm at home, and I still need to integrate the requirements of my job while I am in the confines of my home. So I think with the new ways of working now that are evolving, that you can now practically bring home your job. I think there's a better blend of balancing your work and your home. And I always say that I think women are a special species. They're multitaskers. They can do a lot of things. Sometimes you can say, can you divide your time? It's not really dividing time for women. We multiply our time in such a way that we don't just work 8 hours, but we probably can work 16 hours or 24 hours if that is the case. That's required by a certain period of time.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now you all are very disciplined people and so forth, but we've got a number of questions from business owners who are concerned about, you know, I'll read it out, but what they call, you know, to avoid abuse from employees, you know, employees taking advantage of their freedom and not working, let's say. But so the question I have for everyone is, what protocols do you recommend in work from home schemes to avoid abuse from employees in terms of time, productivity, and efficiency? What do you do to keep people working? Because I know one thing is, I've seen surveys about young people in particular you'd think would be keen on work from home, and they are, but they're concerned about their own discipline, whether they have the discipline to be able to manage the freedom. Who'd like to go first? Maybe put up your hand or just start talking.
Well, if I should start, this has been an ongoing question, but it has never been as urgent to find an answer as it is now. First of all, it was like a grassroots revolution, especially the millennials, but employees in general. They wanted to work whenever and wherever. They do not want to be measured by a timesheet, but rather by results. Now, that came from the employees. Then the HR managers, they started to embrace it, because otherwise they would not be able to attract and retain the young talents. So now that we are actually forced to allow people to work from home, then suddenly this question comes up. And I can only say, if you don't have the answer, you will be you are obsolete today. At the old speed of change, which was considered fast, but not like this. It was like, if you are not adapting to it, you would become obsolete. You need to trust your employees. You need to measure them by their results and not by that timesheet, because nobody in the future is going to take a job where they are dependent or measured by whether or not they show up at a certain time at the office and then check out again at 5:30, 6 p.m.
That's true. Anyone else?
I'd like to add to that.
Please.
So besides as what Lars mentioned on the trust side of things of our employees, it's really about productivity and their performance, right? And there are various applications that we use within PLDT and SMART. But for us, for example, in sales, we use Salesforce as the tool, wherein our employees are logging in their tracking sheets, where how many video calls have I made with customers or things like that. But the trick there really is the productivity that you are monitoring, and you have to have your leaders to actually manage your employees to make sure that everything is in place. And I'd like to step aside a little bit. This is the same thing that's going to be happening come August when school starts. And e-learning is going to play a very big factor. And how do we measure our children and whether they're really listening to the platforms that's available to them on the e-learning platforms that's available to them? And the major role there, or who needs to take part, are the parents. So it's a balance. For e-learning, it's the parents that actually have to contribute their time and effort to make sure that their kids are still learning. At work, it really is the next level of management, monitoring, and using various applications so that you are sure that productivity and efficiency of the work being done is still at the same level.
Okay, that's interesting. Anyone else, or we go on to the next question? Yeah, okay. Well, now, Mitch, you added a very good information, and I'll just go on from that because we have a number of questions about, you know, the sales part of organizations. Of course, the back office side, call it, is one thing, but sales is still a face-to-face thing. And at our events, many of you, you know, a big advantage, it seems, is people come and they can meet people like you speakers today and get business from some of them. So it's but they're losing that right now. And so maybe for Carrie and Mitch again, Lars, for the salespeople out there, they're having a hard time because they're used to going out and finding clients. How else can they generate sales with the situation that we're facing right now? What ideas would you have?
So basically, I think sales is it's an opportunity for sales. Actually, I think just as long as the companies or the customers that we serve are back and open already, they're actually doing more sales calls using video conferencing solutions or tools like MS Teams or Google or Cisco WebEx and the likes, right? And they're going out of their way or going the extra mile. So, for example, where even our salespeople are actually the ones picking up the devices, whether it's the LTE routers, and deliver it themselves to the companies or to the customers. And recently, I have seen a trend where we are already starting to do face-to-face meetings. It's a little bit funny because I've seen pictures because they're literally applying social distancing where two tables are put in one, and that's how they conduct meetings inside the facilities. But again, health and safety is the #1 priority in PLDT. So we try to avoid as much as possible, but I think productivity is actually higher just as long as your customers are open for business. We can communicate with the various tools that's available out there.
Okay,
yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Mitch there, because that for us, that was one of the biggest revelations that we had, was that when we put online virtual tours and we became so active on social media and other platforms, when we checked our metrics after 2 months, the number of inquiries, quality inquiries at that, was a lot higher. And so what it told us was that I think it's better than doing kind of a shotgun approach, which is what we used to do before. Now, when you get an inquiry, the likelihood that you're probably going to close that client is higher than before, because they actually took the time out to listen to your presentation or to go to your website or to look at your virtual tour. So we still think that the physical tours will continue later on when things do get better. So it's really going to be a combination of both, I think, going forward.
Okay, interesting. Lars, anything to add there?
No, it was all said incredibly well. Well said.
Okay. Excellent. Well, one question I have from a lot of employers is, do you pay, maybe we could put up hands or something, but do you pay for, or did you have an internet allowance for your employees? And if so, will you continue doing it for the rest of the year? Maybe for the first part. So who provides an allowance for internet connectivity for your employees?
Yeah.
Okay. And will you continue doing that?
Yeah, Richard, I'll just give a couple of observations on that. Certainly, once this kicked in, we ascertained who had good internet connections and who had insufficient internet connections. In some cases, we had to provide portable Wi-Fi devices to the teams so they could get a good, strong connection. Those that are using their own home internet, yes, we are providing a subsidy, an allowance for that. But I think longer term, we're going to take a whole look at this work from home arrangement, because I'm also concerned from an OH&S perspective that people are just working on their lounge or from the kitchen table, and it may not be the best working arrangement long term. So we want to make sure that staff that do avail themselves of work from home have a good workable office setup that's good for their health and sustainable. And also, as part of that review, we'll make sure that we include appropriate allowances so that they're not out of pocket for that. It's quite interesting. I think we've been quite fair too with our people as well. In most cases, in fact, all cases, we provide transport allowance to get people to and from the office by whatever means they like. We haven't rescinded any of those allowances during this time of crisis. So it's been interesting.
That is interesting. Anybody else can share what they do? Oh, you're shy all of a sudden?
Richard, in the case, yes. It's a similar approach for us in Sitel. No?
Okay.
For those that who are using their own devices as well as their own internet connection at home, then we provide for them an allowance. But for the most part now, with the help of Mr. Locsin here, we've been able to deploy a lot of tools and devices to our associates. And when that happens, then it stops already. But we continue to provide other means of support, such as pick up and drop off for those people who are working in center, as well as other benefits that will help them adjust better to the work at home situation.
Okay, so there is costs involved and hassles by the sound of it for people. But Carlo, what do you do there with your people?
We do very similar to what Brad was talking about, where we provide high-speed dongles, internet connectivity at home. One of the things, Richard, that we did was we found out that a lot of the issues around connectivity and latency were not so much about bandwidth or the speed of their internet at home, as much as it was about the quality of the gateway that they were connecting to. So we were able to, we even have someone from the AV team who only runs about less than 5 Mbps at home, but is able to host a global town hall from his connection. So through technology, we work to improve VPN and the Citrix gateways. So even with slower internet, we're able to ensure low latency with our people. That's on top of what the other measures that we're taking, similar to what Brad and Heidi were talking about.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just finish off maybe with one last question. We're getting a lot of questions about how stable the IT infrastructure is and can it handle all these kinds of things. What do you think? I mean, you think your PLDT, you guys have done very well. What do you think? Is it ready for this big movement? What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah. Yes, it has, and that's basically, a good call from our CTO and our, of course, President MVP. Because in the last 3 years, we focused on our capex purely on network. We've done that. We've spent about, in the last 5 years, we spent about 260 billion pesos in capex purely on network, and that has proven to be good timing in the case of COVID-19, because right now we are coping well and we're preparing ourselves as well. As I mentioned earlier, e-learning, which is going to be a separate group of children or students that are going to be accessing internet separately from the normal work that we as the family members do. So we're preparing as well for that the coming August, so that the network can suffice and everybody gets the customer experience that they need to do their job or to learn. So yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it seems like it. I know many people thought we were going to have problems, but anyway, everything's kept working. So really, really good.
Yeah.
This has been a fantastic event. The only thing I miss about, or one of many things actually I miss about physical events is you can't talk as much as you'd like to do. There's a lot of really information that all these people can share, and it'd be great to pull them aside and get more, but we just can't do that. But this was a very, very good second option. So we had some really, really good stories. So really, really appreciate everyone being here. I don't know, I know we have a lot of these events, and I always say this, but I really mean it, that this was a fantastic event for me, and a lot of really good information. So thank you very much for all of our high-powered speakers from across the nation and the region. And come on with us for the next event. So I'm going to wrap up here. And we'll thank you again, and we'll see you again for our next event. Lots more interesting topics and people to meet. Thank you very, very much to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.